So we'll do Flux. Ooh. It held up really nicely for a while, but it succumbed. I would say there are two major and very general, so not exact price paths, but roughly the general idea. There are two major things that would play out. The more bearish one is that it's now in price discovery down because it's broken this horizontal. And the people who were defending this, they will go from, so they were buyers and or sideliners, right? They were buyers. Actually, let me do it like, yeah, we'll do buyers, sideliners, so people who aren't buying or selling, but they're not selling either, so they're not adding to the vector of force of either, and sellers, right? So you have three groups of people. That's the same for Bitcoin and everything. There are only three groups of people. Buyers, sellers, and sideliners. Sideliners often are holding the coin itself, but even if they're not, or they are, it doesn't matter. They're not adding to this group or they're not adding to that group, but they are watching the coin. They will convert into one of these sooner than later, right? That's the general idea. All right. Dude, so off of that factual observation, just using a process of logic, I think there are two most likely scenarios for Flux. First is, now that it has broken this, the buyers who were defending that level, I'm not saying they'll exactly become sellers, so they're not going to shrink this arrow and add to this arrow necessarily, but rather they have less reason to become buyers and defend that. Therefore, this arrow will shrink. And now look at the difference. It doesn't matter if they don't become sellers. Now the sell vector, which didn't change, is bigger than the buy vector, which means it goes down farther. In addition to the idea that sideliners who currently couldn't tell, ooh, should I pick up some more? I'm still holding or whatever. Some portion, whether it's, the tail end or the fat end, I don't know which portion, but some portion, take a snippet of this, some portion of the sideliners will become sellers. And so this vector has shrunk and this vector gets bigger, which means lubrication to the downside, and it's going to start screaming. I would say that's the most probable scenario. But I think there is a second very likely scenario as well, is that it looks like it wants to keep going, but then tries to recover after Bitcoin capitulates, and then it screams right back up to this area. Similar to, I can't remember what coin I was talking about earlier. Was it Jasmy or something, where I said, it's probably going to fall below a horizontal and then scream right back up to it. I think it might have been Jasmy. I think so. Even in the more bullish scenario, I think it's going to have some more downside, but it's going to scream back up to here if Bitcoin can capitulate sooner than later, like May, June. So if Bitcoin can get some heavy volume, heavy downside, hit 24K or lower, something like that, this could scream down a little bit lower, maybe down to 60 cents, maybe somewhere in that range, and then scream right back up to this level. But there are no bottom targets that I can give you outside of just drawing, 95%. Whoa, that's not even 95% down. Oof. Wow, this coin's actually holding up really well. I would be surprised if this goes down 95%. I'm not for sure what Flux is, but it's holding up really, really well. That's kind of impressive, actually. I'm a little impressed right now. Yeah, but I think in both cases, it'll come down a little bit, but in the more bullish case, it'll zoom right back up because these sideliners, who I was talking about earlier, those sideliners didn't necessarily become sellers, so therefore this vector of force didn't get too much bigger. But then those sideliners, after it, Bitcoin has a capitulation, they'll immediately turn into buyers, and you'll have a big rally up. So this vector of force will come up, and these previous sideliners will come scoop it up and drive it back up to $1.20, and that's what we got for Flux.